All right, guys, after taking some tangents the last couple of weeks on some more philosophical topics, I'm going to get right back in the middle of the lane of where I normally run with the devil's details here. So what I'm going to go over today is I'm going to break down CrossFit's 10 general physical skills. And this is one of the ways CrossFit, how we define fitness, is with these 10 general physical skills. Actually, Greg Glassman borrowed these. I forget the guy's name right now, but the guy that started the Dynamax Ball Company had come up with these. Greg saw them and started what I think is a long, proud tradition that we have in CrossFit of when we see good, useful things in the physical fitness realm, we borrow it, take it, and make it our own. And so that's where these 10 general physical skills came from. And I think it was useful for me, as much as I know these, to go over them again to get ready to do this episode. And I think there is some confusion around some of them, actually what they refer to in practicality. So I want to break these down and give real movement examples, workout examples of when each one of these skills is demonstrated and used to help us all understand how all of these kind of encompass all that is physical fitness. So let's get started right at the top. Let me list them off at the beginning. There's cardiorespiratory endurance, stamina, strength, flexibility, power, speed, coordination, agility, accuracy, and balance. So those are the 10 skills. I'm going to break them down one by one as I go through this. Let's start out without further ado. So the first 4 of these, let me talk about this real quick. The first 4 of these get better through training. We train these because these are physiological responses in the body, and this is overall physical fitness that we get better at by training these first 4. So the first one, cardiorespiratory endurance. What am I talking about here? This is our engine. When we talk about an engine in CrossFit, when we're doing our Metcons and I have a good engine, this is cardiorespiratory endurance. My body's ability, my heart's ability to pump blood to the working muscles, get the waste products out of those muscles, recycle them out of the body, and keep running. We have a strong heart and lungs and circulatory system through increasing our cardiorespiratory endurance. This is done a lot through monostructural movements. So running, rowing, biking, burpees are a great way to work your engine, and they work other aspects of these skills too. But those are the kind of things that we think of when we think cardiorespiratory endurance. And this is the base of the triangle, another way CrossFit defines fitness. You know, at the bottom is nutrition, and right above that is metabolic conditioning. That's this. Cardiorespiratory endurance is in that metabolic conditioning, and it's why I talk about this is one of the most important things that get worked often in CrossFit. When in doubt, let's just do grunt work our overall body, work our body's ability to take in oxygen, produce energy, and recycle that. The second one is stamina. And so this is right away, I've done a whole episode on stamina because it's one I think that is often misunderstood. Stamina is not my ability to go long on a bike. That would be more cardiorespiratory endurance. This is referring to local muscular fatigue usually. And this is whenever you're doing a max unbroken set of virtually anything, you're talking about your stamina and the muscles working those movements. If I'm running out of gas on handstand push-ups and my heart rate isn't high, I just can't do any more handstand push-ups, that's stamina. If I'm doing as many pull-ups as I can or as many push-ups as I can, that's stamina. I'm working hard, but it's certain muscle groups that just cannot keep going. So another way of saying this, I would say, would be strength endurance is another way of saying stamina. Hang power cleans. When you're doing max hang power cleans, a max unbroken set, and your grip is starting to go, you're starting to lose it there, that's your stamina on hang power cleans. So that would be the second one. Third is strength. I think strength and power are often confused. Strength is your body's ability to produce force and move an object without momentum being involved. This is using force in a controlled manner without momentum. So this is not referring to the Olympic lifts, snatch or clean and jerk. This would be slower, more controlled movements. This would be bench press, strict pull-ups, squats, all that kind of stuff is referring to strength. How much weight can I move on an external object? For how much is the heaviest I can move, pushing it or pulling it or picking it up off the ground or standing up with it on my back. And then if I was doing a max effort pull-up, how much weight can I strap between my legs and do on a pull-up? That would be strength as well. The next would be flexibility. And I like in CrossFit We want to get better flexibility by doing complete range of motion in each joint when we exercise. So while I think stretching is good, I think your body gives you the range of motion that you have the strength to control. And your body by nature is going to make you tighter when you don't have the strength to control yourself in a certain position. And so getting more flexible before you build the strength to be in that position can actually be counterproductive. And so the key with flexibility is useful range of motion at every joint. And movements that I think demonstrate this a lot, the overhead squat. Our ability to have a bar locked out overhead, to go all the way down and up, there is flexibility needed in our ankles, in our knees, in our shoulders, in our elbows. Just so many joints in the body have to have a useful range of motion to do that. And there's no quicker way to find someone's tight spots than to have them try and do an overhead squat with something very light, a PVC, an empty barbell, something like that. And I can tell a lot about where you are tight in the body. Dumbbell overhead squats. When you have a single arm dumbbell overhead, if you've ever tried those, a huge range of motion is needed in your shoulder, ability to bring it behind you, also in your lower body and knees and ankles. Your knees need to be able to go a lot farther forward over your toes. And so that requires flexibility in the ankles and the knees. Pistol squats, people do those and you see their heel coming off the ground. That is because they do not have the range of motion necessary to do that correctly with their heel down. So again, flexibility is just all the complete range of motion at my shoulder, at my knee, at my ankle, anywhere I need it to do functional movements. Power. So now we're talking about strength demonstrated quickly. Strength with speed involved. This is the combination of strength and speed, which I'm going to get to in just a second. And this would be on certain lifts. So if I'm doing a 1 rep max deadlift, so if I'm doing sets of 5 on deadlift, touch and go, I would refer to that as strength. A 1 rep max deadlift is a little bit of a gray area because now I'm producing as much force as I can and my muscles are telling me to move that weight quickly, but because it's so heavy, it may not be moving quickly, but that's the energy I'm trying to produce. So I would say there's power involved in a deadlift, 1 rep max, but I would say in all the Olympic lifts, cleans, jerks, snatches, that is the essence of power because that is strength demonstrated quickly. And the Olympic lifts, that's why Glassman has said the snatch touches all 10 of these general physical skills because of the nature of the movement. Olympic lifts in general cover so many of these because you need range of motion, you need power, you need flexibility, you need coordination, you need balance, you need all these things. But power is definitely demonstrated through those kind of movement. And power would be if I want to see how heavy a ball I can throw over my head. That kind of stuff, that would be power because I am moving a heavy object quickly through space. The next one would be speed. So there's a couple kinds of speed here. So one is the classic speed we think of. I'm doing a sprint. Anything under 200 meters where I'm going max effort, that would be speed. But there's also barbell cycling speed. And you guys get this. When someone's new to CrossFit and I ask them to do a snatch quickly, they just can't go that fast because they haven't trained speed in those muscles. And so part of getting better when we do CrossFit and we do the Olympic lifts is being able to do those movements quickly because a snatch, a clean, a jerk cannot be done right if it's going slow. But you have to train the speed and the speed of contraction in those muscle groups in order to be able to go fast with it. And that's something you don't have if you don't train it. So if I'm trying to cycle power cleans or do a heavy power clean, there is speed as well as power involved in that. Also double unders. Double unders involve all the rest of these that I'm about to hit, but definitely here too because the rope is moving fast, my wrists are moving fast, my calves are contracting quickly. There's a lot of speed going on there. But that classic one, and that's why I think when you look at sprinters compared to like marathon and distance runners, sprinters look more like bodybuilders or power athletes than the marathon runners do because they are working those muscles in the same way. They have to be strong and powerful, and that's what makes them fast. This is the speed is when you combine all of these first physiological skills with the athleticism of all the bottom skills I'm about to get into. So that's where I'm getting to. So the first 4 were general overall fitness and physiological. Then power and speed, the ones I just covered, are a combination of physiological and neurological. And now I'm going to get into the last ones, which are all neurological, and these are trained through practice. We have to practice certain skills and certain types of movements of the body to get better at these. This is where we become an athlete with CrossFit. So the first ones are where you just become generally fit. And you can get a lot of that by working machines at a regular Globo gym. The last ones here that make you athletic and an athlete and the ability to go do stuff out in the real world and in life have to involve these last four, which are the ones that I think are often misunderstood as well out of the 10 general physical skills. So, coordination. I am moving my limbs in synchronicity, I think that's a word, through space together. So, double unders are a classic expression of coordination. I have to time my wrist contractions with when my feet are jumping off the ground. And you guys know how much practice that takes. That is practice. What am I talking about here? I'm talking about practice. So this is different than the training that would get you stronger. This is practice to get you good at the skill of double unders. And I have to teach my nerves to fire the muscles in a certain way. And there's no quick way to do that. As we know, there's no trick to get better at double unders fast. You just have to practice the movement a lot. Pegboard, rope climbs, alternating Russian swings, where I'm switching the kettlebell in front of my face. If I'm doing something synchronized with another partner, and of course the Olympic lifts, all of these things now involve coordination because I'm moving different parts of my body, and they need to be in a certain in a certain position in space at a certain time. When I'm doing the pegboard, I have to coordinate when I contract the muscles on this arm to hold me up and when I move this arm and when I'm moving my feet with that. You guys know on a rope climb, I have to be holding on with my hands while my feet move, and then once my feet clamp the rope, I have to be moving my hands again. Different parts of my body are moving in different directions at the same time. That is coordination. And again, this is classic. This is the stuff that makes us athletic. Then there's agility. So agility is changing direction of an object or of your body quickly and efficiently in space. So I would say this is definitely demonstrated the most when we play sports, is agility. The ability to change directions. In tennis and racquetball, soccer, football, anything, we're changing directions a lot. If you're doing really fast shuttle runs, but then break it down to a more basic version. Guys, when you see somebody who's never done a burpee before and they do a burpee, it does not look very smooth. It looks very herky-jerky. They have to step back and step forward. Compare that to some of us who have done thousands of burpees. It's a very smooth movement to the ground and back up again. That is combining the coordination of different parts of our body moved, as I just went over, and the agility to change directions quickly. I'm down, I'm up, I'm down, I'm up. Doing a high box jump, honestly. So I bound off the ground, I tuck my knees into my chest, I land on the box, I stand up. A lot of things happen with my body in space at different times throughout that movement, and the timing of that has to be perfect. That is agility. We're going to do a drill in a couple weeks called a 5-10-5 drill. It's a classic drill you'll see in football where you run one direction 5 yards, back the other 10 yards, and back to the middle 5 yards. That is the definition of agility. I went this way, that way, this way, all very quickly and efficiently, changing my body in space. Accuracy. Making an object or my limbs go exactly where I want them to go at a certain point. So there's going to be two parts of accuracy here, but this is the first one. When I do a wall ball and I need to hit that exact 10-foot target, that's accuracy. I'm throwing the ball with just enough force to get it to that spot, not below it, not above it, right at the 10-foot mark or right at the 9-foot mark. When I switch dumbbells overhead on a dumbbell snatch, I need to be accurate at dropping that out of one hand into the other hand. And you guys know that can feel very precarious when you haven't done it before. Once you've done it, it happens automatically. You don't even think about it. This is because you've trained your body athletically to know where that dumbbell is in space and know where your hands are in relation to that dumbbell. That is accuracy. If I dropped it right into this hand and went right back to the ground and went back up with it. That's where all of a sudden all of these start working together. Because if I'm doing dumbbell snatches, if I'm snatching that dumbbell up in the air, dropping it in the other, and it goes back down to the ground, and then I'm snatching it right back up again. I'm changing directions a lot, And so that's where I need that agility to change directions of an object and my limbs quickly in space, as well as the accuracy to make sure that dumbbell is where I want it to be at the exact moment I want it to be there. And then the last one is balance. So balance is our ability to just that, balance, and specifically keep our center of gravity over the center of our foot. That is where it is most often demonstrated in CrossFit, when I'm catching something overhead. So when you do a snatch, a heavy squat snatch, we all know if it's a little forward, I lose it forward. If it's a little far back, it goes behind me. When I catch it at that sweet spot, right over the middle of my foot, and I just slide down underneath it, that's where I've developed the balance to catch that heavy weight in just the right spot. When I do a heavy split jerk or push jerk, and I need to get that weight up overhead, and right when gravity grabs it and drops it back on me, and I have the perfect weight distribution between both feet to catch that weight, that is balance. And you guys know the first time you do that, you're not good at it. The 50th time you do it, you're not good at it. That takes lots of practice to get better at balancing these heavy weights over ourselves. And I would say pistols are another one. So you can see how all of these skills start getting wrapped up into each of the movement. But when you go down in a pistol, you need the flexibility at your ankle and knee to keep your heel down. We all know how hard that balance is as well, that I have to keep the other leg out in front of me, and I can't fall forward because my foot's out there, and I can't fall back onto my butt. Everything has to be balanced over that one foot on the ground. Reverse burpees. When you roll up off your back and land on your feet, that is one I struggle with personally a lot. But reverse burpees take that balance to catch myself going forward and make sure there's not too much weight behind me, not too much weight in front of me, and I can balance it right over the middle of my foot so I can stand up out of that position. So those are the 10 general physical skills. The top 4, cardiorespiratory endurance, stamina, strength, and flexibility, are trained through physiological training. The bottom 4, coordination, agility, accuracy, and balance, through neurological practice. Power and speed in the middle, we're smashing all of that together to get better at it. And guys, just as I want to say another quick example, devil press. If I'm doing alternating devil press, suddenly I'm involving power and agility and all that kind of stuff to switch the dumbbell between hands. Suddenly I make it not alternating, and now I'm hitting local muscular fatigue on the one side. You guys all know when we do devil press without switching arms, that shoulder and that tricep on that one arm are getting really tired trying to get that dumbbell overhead. So slight changes to each of these movements can have profound effects on which one of these 10 general physical skills we're hitting. Last but not least, guys, when we train hard. I've been preaching consistency for years. I want to really start beating the drum more, and I have talked about this a lot too, but we need to go intensely when we work. To work on all of these skills, you have to go hard. You have to go above 90% to the most of your ability. And doing that more often is so much better than just being in the gym a lot. Because when do I get better actually? I get better when I rest. We move the needle on all of these things after we've done them hard and to the most of our ability, and then we rest afterwards, and our body overcompensates and makes us a little bit better at those, whether it's strength or power, agility, anything. We get a little bit better when we rest. So the key is go hard when you work out and give yourself rest time to get better and improve these things with what you just did when you went hard. Right on. Let me know what you think. Thanks.